All right, guys, welcome back to classical mythology. So, right now, I want to walk you through um, the main things you need to understand as far as like the framework for this mythology. So, we talked about last time. It's this classical story set of stories that is passed down very influentially from Western civilization. And so, the next thing I really want to make sure you understand is sort of this Greek god layout. Okay. And so to understand these stories, you really do need to understand this from the very beginning. And so you have basically three ruling bodies of the Greeks. And if you want to pause this and write that down, you can. You have Gaia and Uranus, who were the original creators. Okay. So they are literally the physical heaven and earth, but they are also represented by two Titan gods. Then you have the Titans, which were a set of their babies who took over. Okay. So the Titans overthrew Gaia and Uranus, the original creators. They then ruled before the Olympians, who were their babies, and their babies then overthrew them. Okay, so it's just this cycle of people's kids overthrowing them. And if the stories would have kept going, we would assume then that the Olympians would have been overthrown by their kids. Okay, so when you look at it, here's just a sample. This is a very small family tree. It's from Hamilton's Mythology, really great authoritative text on mythology, but it's a very small sampling of the actual sets of gods. But it gives you an idea of what we're looking at here. So I want to make sure that you get this. And a couple things I want to make as far as observations go for this. Number one, what you have here is this family tree where you have the original creators, okay, they're Gaia and Uranus, who then have children. So this like equal sign means they had babies together, and these straight lines mean that the branch coming off of that are their children. Okay, so their children and grandchildren become the Titans, who then overthrow them. I'm going to get to that story in a second. Then the Titans have babies, mostly coming from this branch over here with Rhea and Cronus. We have a couple others to break off as well. And they become the Olympians. Okay, so you have first original creators, then their children, then their children. So you kind of understand that. A couple other things I want to make sure we get. With these equal signs, you will notice that there are equal signs in places that obviously there should not be. Okay, because if they are coming off of the same little branch here, that means that yes, they are siblings. Okay, and so is incest something that you're going to see in these stories? Absolutely. Okay. But what I want to make sure I clarify from the very beginning while telling these stories is yes, I will tell the stories, though appropriately. But no, I'm not advocating the lifestyle. Okay. So I'm not telling you that you shall go out and have incest. That is not the purpose of this class whatsoever. So please do not watch this, or parents, if you're watching this, do not think that I am advocating incest in any way. I'm just telling the stories. And yes, there was a lot of incest that happened with the Greek gods, amongst other gods that we will cover in these stories. The other thing you're going to see is that Zeus's name is in several places on this particular family tree. That is because Zeus had a lot of affairs. Again, I am going to tell the story, not in any kind of graphic detail, but I will let you know that happened. But am I advocating that lifestyle? Under no conditions. I don't even want you dating in high school, let alone dating multiple people. Okay, so just kind of keep those things generally in mind as we move through this. Okay, so walking through the Titans first and getting into this like whole idea of creation, we got to understand where everything came from. We'll always start with the creation story wherever possible, because that sets the stage, kind of lays that foundation for the entire mythology. And there's lots of versions of Greek creation, but all of them generally begin the same way. Okay, all life comes from this vast nothingness called chaos. So all life comes from chaos, and out of nothingness, this vast nothingness, comes stuff. Okay, and the first stuff to come out of chaos always has to include Gaia. Gaia is the physical embodiment of the planet Earth, but she is also the goddess of the Earth, right? So she always has to come out. Otherwise, there's no setting for the rest of these stories. Okay, so Gaia comes out first. Sometimes she's alone. Sometimes she brings friends. The one that I want to make sure I point out is the most notable is love, okay, or Eros, which most of you guys will know by his Roman name, Cupid. Okay, so in some versions of Greek mythology, Cupid is actually one of the original gods, and that's going to come back up later. So kind of keep that in mind. But the one that always comes out first is Gaia. Okay, so Gaia herself kind of looks like this. Okay, very attractive lady. Now, when Gaia comes out, she then gives birth to and marries her husband, son Uranus. Okay, and so she does this to give a covering for herself and also a home for all of her children, the gods. So he represents the physical sky. Okay, and they have three types of children together. The three-headed monsters that have 100 hands, the Hecton the three Cyclopses, rather. So 100 headed hands, 100 hands, 50 heads, three Cyclopses, and the Titans.